Going over to the Cultural Part podcast, you have Matt Walsh on wedding ring styles going viral on social media, and he is spot on. This is, of course, thanks to Matt Walsh on X, his hashtag being hashtag Matt Walsh blog. He's responding to Sarah Stock. Now, she says, quote, "This is getting ridiculous." And she has a picture of a gal holding her hand out proudly, and she has a wedding ring, which, again, it looks like a standard wedding band with a diamond in it. And one of the first person's response is Isabel Maria Dulco says, "Why is it so small, LOL?" And a lot of people are saying, "Oh yeah, the rock is too small." And Matt Walsh responded saying, quote, "I'll never understand this thing about ring size. Unless you're rich, you shouldn't be spending tens of thousands of dollars on a ring anyway. Putting yourself into 5-figure debt just to buy a piece of jewelry is not a flex. It makes you a moron," unquote. And of course, Matt Walsh got 1.1 million views and 24,000 likes, which, yeah, he is spot on. One of the dumbest things you could ever buy in life is an expensive wedding ring, right next to, I would say, right on top of an expensive wedding. There are some people who say, "Oh yeah, make her happier," no. Well, I would say a quality woman won't care about the size; she'll care about the commitment. One was not intended, but however, it was made as well. But it's one of those things where you look at the data, the more people spend on weddings, the higher the odds they're going to get divorced. Same when it comes to these wedding rings. Now, granted, there's a couple outliers like celebrities and the ultra rich that skews the data a little bit, but still, overall, there's no correlation. It's actually the antithesis. It's the inverse correlation. The more you spend, the more likely you're going to be breaking up. It's one of the dumbest. I mean, I always tell people, instead of buying a worthless diamond ring, which again, it's worthless because try to resell those pieces of junk. It's nothing but a piece of carbon mined out of Africa. It's useless. Go to a pawn store, you can buy them even cheaper. And I won't get into the conspiracy theory about how only one or two company controls all the diamonds on the planet, De Beers. But yeah, they're brilliant in their marketing because a couple decades ago, they convinced people you had to spend at least 1 month's salary, then it's 2 months' salary, to show that you love your woman by getting her that fancy ring with a big old diamond. Which again, a smarter thing would be put a deposit on a house. Or more accurately these days, with the cost of housing in America, put the money towards a down payment of a house where you can actually build a family together. The fact that some people are mocking this woman because the diamond is small, they're saying, that's just so stupid. Again, I debate, how much would I, if I ever am privileged enough to be in a situation where I do propose, what would I spend on a wedding ring? Not that much. Not even close to 5 figures. No bloody way. Oh, 4 figures? Maybe $500. They get a nice, non-corrosive metal. I'm trying to think, what would I do? But one of those things where, again, you're flushing is the biggest waste of money you could possibly do. Right after buying a car, though you could argue a car is more utilitarian, but you look at depreciation. It's the dumbest thing you can buy. Simply people will say, "Oh, it's a symbolism of how much you love the person." Well, your parameter for love shouldn't be how much they spend on you. I would argue it should be how much time they spend with the person, how much of a commitment they have. Make sure they're honest, make sure they have good integrity with the person. It blows my mind how many Americans use the parameter of what's the size of a wedding ring to measure anything when it comes to a marriage. And it just blows my mind. And I think a lot of guys are waking up to the fact of, buying expensive wedding rings is stupid, fiscally irresponsible, and again, does nothing of value. I'm also a little bit biased, me with fashion. I'm wearing a Garmin watch I got for free like 15 years ago from a friend. So I'm not a jewelry expert, but I do know enough about the diamond industry and just, business terms and common sense to know, buying a diamond wedding ring, one of the dumbest things. Also, no one can tell the difference between Cuban zirconic and a diamond unless you have a sensor. So it's like, what's the point? But yeah, Matt Walsh is 110% on point here. Wedding rings of that expense are stupid, fiscally irresponsible, and no one should buy them. There's no point to them. Now, going to the comment section, perhaps I'm alone in this analysis. Well, the first one comes to us thanks to Matt Walsh. Now, he says, quote, "Let's begin our life as a married couple by plunging ourselves into a steep fiscal hole for the sake of buying a slightly bigger diamond. Very stupid behavior." Correct, getting 3.7 thousand likes. He says, quote, "I bought my wife a very modest ring because I was broke and couldn't afford anything else. Years later, when I was in significantly better financial situation, I bought her a much nicer ring." Even 2.4 thousand likes for that, which again, yeah, once you're fiscally set in life, financially stable, I guess. But even then, I mean, I wouldn't do that. Maybe if I want to get, I don't know, part of me thinks it'd be cool to have matching watches or something, like a men, guys and girls matching watches where this is the same design. And again, you could argue that's more utilitarian because a watch will tell time. Diamond won't. I mean, I always say diamonds really they only really belong on like drill tips. But yeah, buying a ring years later, I guess I could see it. But still, I mean, shoot, I'm not sure how much money he spent on that, but I mean, he has 6 kids. Presumably, put that money into, again, not financial advice, put in S&P 500 401k or in a brokerage account for your kid. Everything adds up in the aggregate, especially when it's compounded exponentially. Impressive what you can do fiscally speaking. Like even if I was privileged to have a family and wife and kids, and exponentially we were worth a lot more money later down the line. I don't know, maybe the frugality in me or just the knowledge of knowing how worthless diamonds are I just hate the idea of buying one of those things. I would rather maybe go on a nice vacation with the wife to celebrate, and being together for X amount of years, having an anniversary. I don't know. I don't see any values of those rings. Now, one of the first comments comes from Will Nolan saying, quote, 1 to 3 months of a man's salary is sensible guideline for an engagement ring. It makes, he says, quote, it makes it more about what a man can afford versus specific minimum amount, but it still ensures the purchase is significant. Women are rightly suspicious of rings that don't really represent much fiscal sacrifice on the man's part. It signals a lack of generosity and tells her she's not a priority, getting 67 likes. This guy, his name is Mr. Will Nolan. He says, helping you become a respected leader. He's got more successful than me. He's got 9,500 followers. I would also say he's mentally vacuous. 1 to 3 months salary. Again, it'd be so much better to put that down payment towards a house. And I know you can't get a whole down payment of a house with that amount of money. But that could be a significant, that could be a significant contribution to a down payment of a house to build a family together. We actually grow together. Or again, as a ring, some gals don't even wear it because they're worried about losing it. I forget the engagement, and it's so stupid. The engagement ring is different than the wedding ring. I didn't know this till a couple years ago. Well, maybe a little bit embarrassing. I don't know cultural things about jewelry, but yeah, those rings add up. And again, saying she's not a priority, what would be a lot more priority? Spending time with her, helping her. This guy's a moron. The only reason Americans think you have to spend 1 to 2, now 3 months of salary on a freaking a useless piece of carbon mined in Africa is because of the De Beers Corporation. I said I was going to go down the road, but I am nevertheless. Like, to their credit, is the best marketing campaign in history I could think of, because they took this useless piece of junk in the ground. They convinced Americans that, hey, your love has to be shown by fiscal. It has to be, this amount of money for a wedding ring. Spoiler, they have a monopoly on the wedding rings. The only reason diamonds are worth anything in general is because it's a controlled market by the De Beers Corporation. They're pretty plentiful. Most of them are in volts, though, because they want to control the market, aka, supply and demand. And this guy's saying, oh, yeah, 1 to 3 months salary. That's ridiculous. Now, Christy Mayer says, quote, diamond sizes are dick measuring contests for women. Telling everyone publicly how superficial you are isn't a flex or a show of self-worth. Oh, she got 307. I'm going to get 308 likes. Evan Kilgore says, quote, if a woman even comments on the size of a ring, she is a red flag and you should end the entire relationship immediately. Be appreciative or hit the road, getting 804 likes. Erin, Canadian flag. She's stuck in Canada. Oh, that's sad. Looks like she's Christian conservative. I'm going to give her a follow. I can't imagine imagine being born in Canada with freedom right down there, so close. They're stuck behind the tyranny of the maple syrup army. But nevertheless, she says, quote, I don't know why women have to go and ruin other women's happiest moments like this. It's evil, getting 73 likes. Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Teddy KGB says, quote, if you need to spend $30,000 on a ring to her to say yes, you're better off with her saying no, getting 12 likes. Jamie Shesby says, quote, the same can be said about spending tens of thousands of dollars on the wedding. You bet, getting 130 likes. I 110% agree. I don't think it's coincidence that the people I know who spent the littlest amount on their wedding are the most happily married and the ones that have the most years of successful marriage together. Again, people used to get married. I'm not saying you just go to the courthouse. Some people do, but maybe go to the courthouse or, a small church wedding with your immediate friends and family. It blows my mind how much people spend on one day. I mean, the sales representatives in the industry are great. I mean, they're very smart. People usually don't take sense of money when they have, Kevin O'Leary, the famous Shark Tank entrepreneur. He famously said he loves to be in the birth business, the death business, and the wedding business because of the 3 times in your life where people seem to throw cost and logic out the window because they're so emotionally overcharged that day. And again, a wedding is very significant. It's something that people look forward to their whole life. It is one of the most important decisions and partnerships you'll ever make. I absolutely agree. But yeah, spending all that money on that one day, it's just ridiculous. And again, the more people spend, the more they get divorced. Now, you also have Taylor Davidson, quote, "It's a nice ring. Emerald cut is very classy. Single bitches are just coping," getting 165 likes. The Lectern guy says, quote, "I bought my wife's ring at a pawn shop. It saves thousands, and she still has a nice rock." 135 likes. I mean, it is crazy. I would argue that a wedding ring depreciates more than a Mercedes when it rolls off the lot when you buy a new car. I mean, the depreciation is just ridiculous because, again, it's all artificial for the sale of new diamonds. You have Mary Margaret Olahan saying, quote, "Fixating on how big your ring is probably indicates you may not be getting married for the right reasons. Fixating on someone else's ring is just rude and tacky," getting 333 likes. Chris says, "Get a lab-grown one. Don't give money to the," he points him out, says, "Don't give money to the De Beers Corporation, owned by the Oppenheimer family, working with the ANC to push the Boers off their land," getting 221 likes. Let's see. The Refined Populist says, quote, "The practice of precious stones on wedding bands only began because cads would fake propose to women, sleep with them, ruin their value, and then leave them before the wedding date. Stones are served as collateral. Hilariously ironic that these idiots think they're entitled to them," getting 211 likes. I'll have to look at that. I've never heard of that theory before. The Optimist Hergalion says, quote, I was a broke church intern. I paid $400 for a pawn shop ring. She said yes, and 12 years later, I got the band redone. She still wears that ring, getting 31 likes. Yep. And again, I would argue, in terms of memorizing or remembering the most important days in your life, I think it'd be really cool to do a very memorable, very unique way to propose to your wife, or obviously, because I mean, it doesn't have to be expensive, but I think, maybe it's just me. I think unique, cool stories, that's something you hold on to forever. I can understand maybe spending, maybe up to $1,000 on a very special, like an outing or an event to propose. I think that would be worth just as much, if not more, than the wedding ring itself. People tell the stories for decades. Let's see, do one or two more. Melissa Chan says, quote, also don't buy real diamonds. She says, quote, man-made diamonds are indistinguishable from the ones brought to you by De Beers. Whole thing is a scam, getting 105 likes. The fact there's so many ladies agreeing with this sentiment in the comments gives me some hope for humanity. Not much, but a small hope. Oh, what? Went from 105 to 110 likes. And yeah, now, fascinatingly enough, the only way that you can tell a real diamond versus a lab-grown, quote-unquote, fake diamond is that the lab-grown fake diamond is technically perfect. There's no imperfections. So maybe there's a metaphor in there. Imperfections make us worth more. I don't know, some cliche like that. Yeah, a real diamond actually is known to be real, made in the Earth's crust, yada yada, because there are imperfections in the diamond. Let's see, not seeing too many contrarian statements. Let's see here. Seems wholesome. I'll read this. Sour Patch Lid says, quote, we got a Montana Sapphire because we were both working. It still is nowhere near 3 months of my husband's income, and it's still absolutely lovely. Again, that's a pretty ring. Got 114, so we got 115 likes. Again, I'm not a gemologist, but, you know me, I like grading my car, my wristband. That's cute. It's made in America. That's Montana. That's pretty cute. I like that. I also think it's kind of tacky to have an overly, big ring that just yells in terms of attention. Kind of like people have diamond encrusted watches. That just looks stupid to me. But yeah, glad to see a lot of people in comments agreeing, and let me know your thoughts. Do you think, if you have the privilege of proposing to someone, would you spend a lot of money on the wedding ring? Would you do the 1 to 3 month, or who knows? Maybe next month there'll be a 4-month standard to buy a wedding ring, and that'll be the new norm. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. Greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.